And first recognize that everything is in a box.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything is in a box.
And this is my problem with folks who practice what I call intellectual bulimia. They learn stuff and then they just spit it back out at you, and as if facts are real. Facts depend on the methods used, and facts depend on which box you're coming from, because depending on which box you're coming from will even depend on what's important to know. And if I'm happy and I'm secure, and which is really what all this is about, if I'm happy and secure without examining my own box, I deny anything that's outside, and it's primarily for safety.
Yes.
And we go through, we could also talk about ritual as primarily for safety. You know, I'm doing this, trying to produce that, and the scientific method can, in a certain extent, be considered ritual. Yes. And if it's mindlessly applied, you get some crazy stuff going on. For example, in my field of statistics, there's mindless application of statistics as if there's like a formula that produces something. Yeah. And people don't understand, I think, that math in general and statistics in particular is an art. Mm-hmm. It's an art, and within the statistics you make certain assumptions. So I was, just before we started our conversation today, I was on a conference call because people ask me for advice about numerical things, and I was just on a conference call with a medical company playing around with data. How do I interpret these data, and what kind of tests should I use, and all that. And what they were seeking really was they wanted to have their data show statistical significance. Mm-hmm. And statistical significance is defined universally as the 0.05 level. Mm-hmm. And what they don't understand, and medical companies don't understand, and most working scientists don't understand, is there's nothing magical about 0.05. There's nothing at all. And if you have 0.06, it's a continuum. There's not an arbitrary thing like this is now meaningful. This is not meaningful. It's a continuum. And this particular company lost a lot of money because on one test they did, trying to get a drug through, they had their statistical level was 0.057. And the difference between 0.057 and 0.05 is not much. And it's a function of this, that, and the other thing, including sample size. It's just, people don't understand that it doesn't, because something is significant doesn't make it meaningful. Yeah. But if it's significant, people then say, ooh, it must be important.
Yes.
Totally different ideas. Totally different ideas. Significant doesn't mean important. Arbitrary, but if you go through the hoops that are necessary in various fields, 0.05 is a hoop.
Yes.
It's not real, though. It's not real. It's an arbitrary box.
Yeah. And we have defined it, right? I mean, we have invented it. We have declared it as that is the one.
And so henceforth it shall be. Yeah. And it becomes reified, and people start taking this stuff seriously. It ought not to be taken too seriously.
Yes. I mean, it can certainly serve as a model to see or to give an indication or a direction, but as you say, it is a continuum, right? It's not just like you don't just jump off the cliff. It's not like a binary either or. It is like, okay.
No. It's the same thing as saying, when is it hot?
Yes.
You know, at what degree is it hot? Well, it's a continuum.
Yes.
So you go to this and you go, no, it's not hot. It has to that. Then it's hot. You know, 1 degree difference. It's suddenly hot. It's suddenly significant. It's suddenly Nazi. This is crazy talk. But these are the things that make into the textbooks. These are the things that people learn. These are the things that people learn in business school. These are the things that people learn in the various trade schools of gathering data. And it's crazy talk. It's just nuts out there. Yeah. And it becomes real.
And based on that kind of belief system, based on this crazy talk, as you say, based on those concepts and ideas, actually we are drawing our conclusions, right? So these concepts have probably been introduced to serve a certain purpose, but now they probably become a hindrance.
it becomes a hindrance. And in my field, when you have to publish something, you have to get through the sacred peer review.
Yeah.
And the sacred peer review means I haven't done anything too crazy.
Yeah.
And it depends on the reviewer. You know, I mean, that's really all it means. So if I have something that's peer reviewed and people don't like what you say, then the peer review becomes an obstacle to new knowledge.
Yes.
And I have a paper out at a biology journal now, which is, to say the least, pushing the envelope. And we just checked in with the editor of the journal, and the editor of the journal is having difficulty finding people who could review it because I'm speaking a different language and I'm talking about crazy things, crazy biological effects that are being produced in cancer cells by crazy unorthodox things. But I have 7 iterations of the same result. And who knows what, you can't make sense of this stuff. You know, it's nuts.
And again, coming back to this idea with the boxes, it is crazy stuff and it doesn't make sense if you are looking at it from sitting within one of those boxes, right?
Yep.
And I think this is...
I got a data dump last Thursday on my latest experiments, which was on a mouse experiment, and I was on with the folks in Providence who were doing this stuff day to day. And when an experiment starts, I blind myself and I go into... I'm out of touch for at least a month so that I don't manipulate anything inadvertently. And so I just got last Thursday a discussion with the lab, and they said, oh my, all this stuff happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And we got more tests to do, and we're testing hemoglobin and a bunch of things. And when they end of their excited report to me of what they found so far, I said, so tell me what it means. And they all said, we don't have the slightest idea. We don't have the slightest idea because there's no framework to make sense of the new data.
Yes.
And so what we do, and this is really the process, we gather raw data, and the raw data are ugly. They're not simple, they're complex, they're intertwined, they're this, that, the other thing. And if you look at raw data, and right off when it's hot off the press, you don't have a framework to make sense of it.
Yes.
And then eventually it has to be turned into a narrative. And then we can understand stories. We can't understand raw data. If you look at any raw data set of any study, it's too complex to figure out. So we, not even maliciously, but we have to take some of it, say this is important, this isn't, and that depends on what box you're in. Yes. That's important, this is not, and I need to put together a narrative so I can tell a story.
Yes.
And I think fundamentally, we're storytellers.
Yes.
And our stories, by definition, are editing out the world so that we have some sort of coherent message.
Yeah.
And once the coherent message comes together and we have it, that story in turn edits out future possibilities for different stories.
Yes. Yes, because you've basically put it into a box so that you can comprehend it.
Yep.
And you've given it a frame, and you have used your previous experiences and your previous understanding to then sort of shape it and give it a frame. But therefore you limit future kind of developments again.
Yep.